Hello out there. Welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. A fun bunch of shit lined up for us to talk about tonight, folks. Joining me in the studio as usual, my intellectual brother from another mother, none other than the Grey Wizard of Historical Knowledge himself, Mr. Eric Smith. How you doing tonight, Bubba?
Really high, man. Really high on life.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
It is.
I got an article on that for later, too, to believe it or not.
The High Life?
Yeah.
Who did that? High Life? What's the name of the song and album? Steve Winwood.
I do know who you're talking about, yeah.
That's
correct, yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah. But anyway.
Anyhow.
So we got a big old sack of stuff to talk about tonight. Some really cool articles that I kind of came across here I thought would tickle your fancy, especially, and that is the goal, is to make you laugh more, as was requested by a fan here recently, that you need to laugh more. So
my Bible jokes aren't
ringing true, huh?
Well,
some people, man,
they're a little complicated sometimes. Like, they seem really funny to me, but then not. But then when I'm explaining them, I'm like, I don't know if that was funny.
This one comes from Mashable. Toy maker Hasbro now owns Death Row Records, and Twitter has suggestions.
Oh my gosh, like a new board game would be awesome.
Well, I think that's probably what they're going to do, is they're going to pan the fuck out of it, right? Ready yourself for some Snoop Dogg Monopoly.
Yeah.
Hasbro, the maker of Mr. Potato Head, Twister, G.I. Joe, and the aforementioned board game designed as a critique of American greed, is now the proud owner of Death Row Records. Yes, we read that correctly.
And let me also point out that they own all of Milton Bradley's old board games like Shogun and Fortress America. And they also Axis and Allies, and they also own Dungeons and Dragons. They also own Dangerous Journeys.
It is a monopoly.
They own a lot.
They own pretty much freaking everything.
Hasborg.
Hasborg.
That's what they're called on the internet. Hasborg.
Like the Borg from Star Trek.
Yeah, they
right?
just assimilate everything. Doesn't matter if it's a board game or Death Row Records.
Hasborg. Hashtag Hasborg. So reports Rolling Stone, which details the circuitous, it's a big word, route by which the toy maker came to own a record label associated with Dr. Dre and Tupac. Hasbro, it seems, purchased an entire company by the name of Entertainment One earlier this week. That company just so happened to have acquired Death Row Records catalog in 2013 for around $280 million.
Just so happened to have this. Like, it's just lying around. Did you guys realize?
Imagine having that in the closet kind of thing. Just, hey, let me pull this out, dust it off. Good Lord.
And make everything out of it, from board games to re-releases.
Arguably one of the most influential modern record labels, right? I mean, if not the most.
Certainly for hip-hop.
Yeah, for that whole genre defining type of record
Rap
label.
or hip-hop.
Yeah. While Hasbro has yet to announce any specific gin and juice inspired children's toys or board games, that's reaching.
They have miniature war games, like where you buy the little miniature pieces and fight them on the tabletop.
Who does?
Hasbro.
Okay, like Army Men type thing?
Yeah, like H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, little guys, that sort of thing.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
What do you mean?
What you're talking about? I didn't even know it was a thing. Like Hero Clicks or something, right? Is that what you're talking about? I've heard of those.
Oh no, I mean like for instance, there's
what the fuck are you talking about, Eric?
There's Warhammer.
Yeah.
And it's like little miniatures, right? They're like little army men, but there's all of these different kinds, and they have different stats.
Oh,
and
I can believe that.
Game books.
Yeah, they probably have it for like Lord of the Rings and for all kinds of different genres.
And like in the 70s and earlier, when there was sand tables where people would fight the armies back and forth on a sand table. And so like you would have your guys could move
everything
so many
was done,
inches.
Done with by like measuring tape of some sort, right? You moved your pieces and
right. So Hasbro has modern games like this, like with Star Wars figures and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm envisioning like these people fighting.
Right.
You know, like there's some miniature game where you can fight Death Row Records versus like some
because because Death Row Records is now a board game. So you've got like Tupac and Dr. Dre,
and they got stats,
Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Eminem,
or whoever they have on their roster.
They all have like their SmackDown stats and shit like that, right? And then you roll your dice, and
fight them, fight them, or see if they make the better record or something. You know, games,
man. Yeah, it's sell a ton. I guarantee it.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I mean, they'll make a game out of almost anything.
Pretty much anything. Twitter has jumped into the fray to offer up its creative services free of charge. Hey, that's what we're doing, basically, right? Hasbro just bought Death Row Records, and I swear if I don't hear Woody and Buzz cover nothing but a G thing, I'll lose it.
Yeah, they can cover all that stuff now, can't they?
At Chase Presser on Twitter.
Oh, goodness, there's a tattoo involved in this.
Yeah, I'm not going down that road. We're flipping through the pictures here. Monopoly, Death Row, sure. There's got to be, whatever Hasbro eventually decides to do with its newfound collection of music, one thing is for sure. Someone somewhere is already working on a nothing but a G.I. Joe thing single. That's happening. That's definitely happening. Oh, man. It's weird. It's a weird world that we
just like
freaking live in, dude. That this is how can a toy maker own Death Row Records?
Well, look at that picture right there. Okay, just keep that in mind while we're talking about this. And consider
it's a picture of a Mr. Potato Head blimp in like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. Is what it is.
And then consider how there's that smartest kid in the world that they were talking about
that thinks we bumped into.
Another universe where things are slightly different and improbable things happen because it's the nature of the shift, right? Like things had to be shuffled around a little bit. So one of those things was that Death Row Records had to go to Hasbro.
It's crazy, man.
This universe won't support it not being another one.
That's a mind bender, buddy. It really is to think about, that the same company that, makes Barbies or whatever is got some of those records.
They're
making money
company.
for them.
They're a family company.
Well, if our show has a theme, it's that we talk about pretty much anything, right? But because of that, we tend to report on things from a technical standpoint, Mr. Smith, that other people just won't generally talk about, right? Because we don't give a shit.
Well,
so what that means is that there's this trend, this thing growing out there in society that's happening that you don't hear about much on the news, but it's happening nonetheless. And we talk about it quite often. And that trend is sex robots. There's always news about sex robots, man.
For all of your and deepest desires.
Oh my God. So this is probably Daily Star. So I want to say that's UK. All right. But the headline reads, sex robots with coding errors prone to violence and could strangle humans. Now, I don't want to get weird, but I think that there are people that like that sort of thing. Well,
yeah, but I'm wondering if that's where the coding errors. Yeah, like so much pressure per inch, and if you mess that up, you're in trouble.
Oh, maybe it's like you thought you bought the cuddle model and you got like the
struggle model.
You got the struggle model instead of the cuddle model or whatever.
Oh my God! I still would suggest that this might be the way the human race ends. Like guys just start going out with sex robots, and in like a generation or two, there's just nobody born anymore, nobody pregnant, and we're screwed or something. I don't know.
Is that the thing, or do they become superior and people get together because they actually like each other, not because of how they make each other feel?
I'm going to go with the first.
All right, we'll put you down.
I'm worried about the first.
We'll put you in that column squarely, Bubba. Doll collector Brick Dollbanger fears what could happen if robots are not regulated. Well, let's consider the source.
Are you sure they didn't reverse those two letters? Because reverse those two letters and read that again.
Balldanger instead of Dollbanger? Is that what you're going for?
Brick Ballbanger.
Brick Dollbanger.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know.
Good for him or her. I don't know. Sex robots plagued with coding errors could be prone to violent behaviors, including strangling. An expert has warned.
Who is? Where do I get my degree in being an expert in robots that strangle?
Look, dude, his name is Brick Dollbanger. I mean, that's got to count for something.
So they gave him
They're giving him cred.
Yeah.
Dollbanger fears violent repercussions if robotics are not regulated properly. Okay, so does everybody else.
Right.
He believes a simple, quote, coding error could turn AI girlfriends against their owners if they are equipped with free will. Well, therein lies the problem, doesn't it, Mr. Dollbanger? He doesn't want them to have any kind of free will. Just buy that model.
Well, there's a lot of weird ethics involved in
oh my God.
And having a robot with no free will that you're having sex with. That's some weird.
One would think, right?
Shit. Yeah,
you would think so.
It's. I don't know how healthy that is.
I don't think it's healthy at all, man. Brick, who has closed ties with manufacturers Realbotics and Abyss.
Realbotics, that's a great name.
Told Daily Star Online, quote, "It scares me to death. It's a machine, and it's always going to be a machine. But your name is Dollbanger." He's afraid.
I don't know, man.
There's going to be a new category for abused, abused
robots.
You're going to be abused by robots, right? Like people are going to be in support groups for being abused by their sex robots.
There'll be a group of people that will want that.
I think it's going to be a XYZ model kind of thing, man. It makes sense, right? That's how everything else is done.
It's bordering on satire.
I think this has got to be satire. It's probably is a satire piece. Daily Star, it's very likely that it's satire. It didn't say it. Let me check at the top, man. Maybe I'm getting duped here. News, World News.
HTTPS.
Senior reporter. Satire. This just seems awful satirical.
The name in
Dollbanger. Yeah. Who knows? This could be a thing. I don't know. It doesn't say anything about being satire here. But it sure looks like a satire piece, doesn't it?
It does.
But see, here's the problem, man. Is art imitating life, life imitating art kind of thing, right?
I still like the name Realbotics.
Quote, "If you've watched the movies Ex Machina, because I honestly believe synthetics are going to look very similar to that movie, it's not going to be something you can hit with a pipe and it's going to fall apart. I've always said when a synthetic can support itself, that synthetic is going to be much stronger than a normal human." And anybody named Dollbanger is an authority.
I've always said
reference, right?
I've always said like back in the mid 70s, I always said,
yeah, this guy, he's such a freaking authority.
Synthetics were able to, like he says that like he's been talking about synthetics doing this.
Well, and if you hit it with a pipe and it's going to fall apart, like he sat down and thought about hitting these things with pipes too.
Yeah, like forever, like since the 70s or something.
I think he might want a new profession if he's this terrified of this subject matter, man.
Maybe he has. Maybe he is our top expert in this.
With a name like Dollbanger, man, I think he's got to be.
Yeah. If I change my name legally, that means I might be able to get a job.
It's going to be more durable. Instead of having bones, it's going to have high-impact plastic or aluminum frames. It's going to be very strong, and it won't get tired. It won't stop unless it runs out of it. It sounds like the scene from Terminator. It's going to keep coming. It's never going to stop until you are dead. Do you understand?
Oh, man.
This guy's confusing some genres here. Death robots and sex robots. Unless you can stop it with some kind of projectile, like a gun or something like that, if this thing got out of control, it could do some serious damage. He added, one line of bad code, as simple as that, one line of bad code.
Well,
yeah, this poor bastard. I hope this is satire. For his sake, I hope I feel sorry for you, and I hope you're fake.
Yeah, right. You're just in charge of some shit that might go wrong. It's essentially just like a time bomb.
This one comes from Country Living. The Farmer's Almanac predicts winter 2020 will be freezing and frigid.
Oh, okay. I'll plan for a nice Christmas.
Yeah, right. This is so to top off everything else this year, the Amazon forest is on fire. I think, that's bad enough. But
yeah, it seems like a really short summer.
Early fall, huh? So soak up the sun while you still can, because it's going to be a very long winter. That's what you're saying, right? Farmer's Almanac, it's a trusted source, man.
Yeah.
Just released its extended weather forecast and is predicting a polar coaster season this year, which is just as bad as it sounds.
Oh.
Man, I hope I get to spend this whole winter in Florida again. I did last winter.
Yeah.
It was great.
I remember that.
Man, that was awesome. Quote, our extended forecast is calling for yet another freezing, frigid, and frosty winter for 2/3 of the country. Farmer's Almanac editor and Phylum Peter Geiger said in a press release. I don't know who that is. Last year's annual prediction called for a long, snowy winter, and unfortunately it turned out to be correct. The Farmer's Almanac promises the upcoming 2019 to 2020 season will be another wild ride with frigid temperatures and hefty snowfalls affecting a majority of the country.
Oh, well, okay.
Hey, I'm just trying. We never do the weather, man. We never do the weather.
We don't do the weather.
We don't do anything climate related ever, hardly.
Well,
so
I do like winter.
I was criticized for that, believe it or not. Oh, it broke my heart, hurt my feelings bad, man.
I do like snow.
So I'm putting this in here to poke that person in the eye.
Yeah.
They know who they are. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I do like snow.
You like snow?
Yeah.
I can do without it.
I like even being trapped in the house with no food.
My buddy calls it the white death.
No, it's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
You
a lot
stuck
of
in
times
that.
I go out and take drives in it. You just got to be really careful, but it's fun because nobody else is out.
Yeah, the problem is when you live places like in New England, that's just it ain't, hey, it'll be fun to go.
Right.
No, it snows 17 inches and they go to work, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's why I'm hoping it will be
just
a big winter.
grinds on you after a while, man. Oh, God.
But here it will go away again.
If it falls at all. That's the nice thing about, we're far enough south that we get really mild. We're like right in that perfect zone where we get like 3 months of every season usually. Yeah. And it's really, really mild winters. I missed it. I forgot how much I liked it, believe it or not. Living up near Boston. All right, you ready to get your science freak on, bro?
Yeah, sure.
So, this is for you, my friend. I couldn't pass this one up. This one comes from space.com, which had that weird astronaut divorce article that was I think you said the big words giveth and the little words taketh away.
Oh my God, I seen a meme the other day where there was a picture of a woman yelling and it says my cousin yelling at me, calling me Hitler, and it was the cat at the table on the other side of the meme.
Okay.
You don't know what I'm talking about, the white one. And he says me explaining to her that 100% of the crime committed in space is because of women.
Oh my God, right. And watching their heads split open.
It's like, oh man. Didn't take long for it to hit meme.
It didn't either, did it?
No.
I mean, it was like bam. Scientists are building a real life version of the Starship Enterprise's life scanner.
Ooh.
Right? I got your attention, don't I? Although that's the picture here, that's not the Starship Enterprise.
Nope, and they're going into what appears to be a black hole.
A wormhole or something. Yeah, in danger. When the crew members of the Starship Enterprise pull into orbit around a new planet, one of the first things they do is scan for life forms. Here in the real world, researchers have long been trying to figure out how to unambiguously detect signs of life on distant exoplanets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a really interesting plot device they use. Like, scan the surface. They don't say how they do that.
No.
They just say they do it. And, Captain, we've discovered a shit ton of dipshits.
Normally, I think we look for methane in the atmosphere atmosphere through spectrometry is the main way we do it now, I think.
Right. It's a color thing, right?
Yeah,
Something like that?
the light that's being emitted from the sun through the atmosphere of the planet.
Right.
When it goes through the atmosphere of the planet, if there's certain elements in the atmosphere, it will absorb a certain frequency of light.
Okay.
Right, that they can match up to that element. And so when they get that light back, if they put it through a spectrometer, they can see black marks. And where those black marks are in it is where that light frequency has been absorbed by an element in the atmosphere. And that's how they can tell what the atmosphere is comprised of.
And I think it says, so they are now one step closer to this goal thanks to a new remote sensing technique that relies on a quirk of biochemistry causing light to spiral in a particular direction and produce a fairly unmistakable signal. The method described in a recent paper published in the journal Astrobiology could be used aboard space-based observatories and help scientists learn if the universe contains living beings like ourselves. In recent years, remote life detection has become a topic of immense interest as astronomers have begun to capture light from planets orbiting other stars, which can be analyzed to determine what kind of chemicals those worlds contain.
Hey, and I just explained how that's analyzed.
Right. Researchers would like to figure out some indicator that could definitively tell them whether or not they are looking at a living biosphere.
Right, because if they just detect a lot of methane, that's just one possible source of that methane could be life, right?
Right.
There's other sources too.
For instance, the presence of excessive oxygen in an exoplanet's atmosphere might be a good hint that something is breathing on its surface, but there are plenty of ways that non-living processes can generate oxygen molecules and trick remote observers into believing a world is teeming with life. Therefore, some researchers have suggested looking for chains of organic molecules. These living chemicals come in two arrangements, a right-handed and a left-handed version that are like mirror flipped images of each other. In the wild, nature produces equal amounts of these right and left-handed molecules. Huh? Okay, you following that so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Quote, biology breaks this symmetry. Frans Snick, an astronomer at Leiden University in the Netherlands and co-author of the new paper told Live Science, this is the difference between chemistry and biology. On Earth, living creatures select one molecular hand and stick with it. The amino acids that make up the proteins in your body are all left-handed versions of their respective molecules. When light interacts with long chains of these different handed arrangements, it becomes circularly polarized, meaning that its electromagnetic waves will travel either clockwise or counterclockwise spirals, and organic molecules won't generally impart this property of rays to light. Okay, so that does make kind of sense. So if the planet has living organisms on it, it will interact with the light that's being reflected off of the planet in a way that may be detectable at extremely long distances.
Yeah. Like almost 90% of how they find out things in the cosmos by observing light.
And how they interact with light. So this is obviously in the not in the visible spectrum that they're talking about. This is like getting really down to like
photon
level measurements and stuff. But that's cool. So that's exactly what they're talking about, man. They're talking about being able to measure whether a planet has life or not on it based on the light that reflects off of it. That's crazy.
And if it works, then imagine if there were more advanced species, they must assuredly know that this place is filled with life.
Yeah.
If we can do it now, they must be able to do it before. They must have had time, if they existed. Like
aliens kind of thing?
Yeah, any kind of advanced species that's not indigenous to Earth.
Right.
If we have this ability now to check the photons coming through a planet's atmosphere to see if there are organic molecules.
Right.
And we're in the year 2019, a more advanced species who has been around for longer than us.
Right.
Should have had this technology for a while now.
And that's that argument again, isn't it?
Right, and they should have been able to realize what planets had life and what planets didn't. So they should assuredly know, if they know about us at all, that there's life here.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just following the logic, right? I'm not going anywhere. I don't have no point. There's nothing I'm trying to reveal. I'm just saying.
This is that argument, though, that what if we're first?
Well, it could be that argument. It could be the argument where the universe is vast and maybe there's not that many species in it and no one's gotten around to us or anything yet. I mean, who knows? Right. I'm just pointing out, if they exist, that they must be able to tell if we had life on our planet definitively. Right. If we can tell that about them, the inverse has to be true.
Right.
And or more so true.
And there could be an evolutionary chain out there that's much older than ours, where these species have long since advanced past that ability, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm not even saying that there couldn't be species out there. I'm just pointing out, if there were, they should be able to know that we are a planet with a population and a lot about us. We're not quiet.
Not at all. Yeah, we broadcast a shitload of noise out into the universe. Yeah, we just
send music out into space, like on discs and stuff.
Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, man, check this shit out. We're just ready to share immediately.
There's going to be aliens showing up here, a million years from now, looking for Elvis and Buddy Holly and shit.
Maybe making a pilgrimage. Who knows, man?
No, they would know better. They wouldn't. Yeah, what am I thinking?
I like to think that there isn't anything like that out there, but I don't know, obviously.
And nobody else does either.
I just prefer that answer. For whatever reasons, I prefer to think that the things that I know make me feel like the safe bet is that there's just nothing out there.
So far,
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm willing to concede that there could be. I just find it unlikely. But it wouldn't be like I'd freak out if there were. I mean, it's the same laws of the universe, which really do project that there would be life.
Right.
Right? But it's just, if there was, you would think that there would be more signs.
It'd be way more persistent.
Well, and that you'd see it. There'd be some way of detecting it. We've been doing this for a while now. We've got some really good methods of doing it, and we're still, in every instance, turning up empty-handed.
And I've heard this argument put this way, that, well, you know what it is we're just not listening the right way.
Yeah, but and
it's like, okay, maybe we're not listening the right way for some of them, but all of them, if there's so many billions of possibilities, all of them, we're not listening the right way for all of them. And they all have a way of communicating that's completely different from ours, and we're just not listening the right way to that. There's the numbers game starts to fall apart again, right?
And the implications almost become religious, in the sense that if there isn't anything at all out there like that in the whole universe,
right,
then that almost takes you from feeling like you were insignificant to almost feeling special again, right? You may not be the center of the universe geographically, so speaking, right?
Right.
But
physically speaking, right?
Physically speaking, or whatever, but if you were the only species of intelligence in the universe, that would almost make you feel like the selected special thing,
the chosen one.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to deny that at some point.
The claw has chosen you, Eric.
Yeah, I know. Anyhow.
This one comes from Scientific American. A successful artificial memory has been created.
Ooh, you mean this shit didn't happen and now it's yours?
Yeah. The growing science of memory manipulation raises social and ethical questions.
It's like growing science. I didn't know people were working on it. Shit.
It's a for real shit, yeah. Could you imagine that if you could plant memories in somebody?
Dude, again, how do I get where do you get these credentials at? Yeah, what did you go to school for? I was studying the human brain and how to put fake memories in it. Really?
What the hell were you doing?
That sounds really cool, man. I took
it also sounds extremely nefarious, too.
Yeah, it's probably government sponsored or something. But, I mean, I'm not saying that every conspiracy is government funded.
However.
Corporate. I mean, because, Dan talked about that, and he's right. There's a lot more likelihood that the funding would come from some private corporation or something. Yeah. I think I'm just stuck in that kind of stereotypical, when I talk about conspiracies, government comes to mind, even though if I rationally think about it, there's probably other better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, they just don't seem to have the same spectacular effect on the world as when they're as they do as when they're done by large governments and countries. And
unless
things
they're
like that.
truly doing some clandestine shit that we don't have any idea. And there's going to be a big reveal like that one article that you were reading that time, where they were going to release the alien technology, and we found that was 2 years old. You know, it was almost exciting, man.
It was funny. My buddy Kenny from Thought Dump messaged me on that because I'd never heard of it before, and he was like, "Yeah, he was on the Rogan podcast, and he couldn't answer any of Rogan's questions, and he left looking like a complete idiot."
Who was that?
The guy that's
Bob Lazar?
No, the guy that was put that team together, and they were going to be the team that disseminated all this alien technology. You remember that?
Yeah.
That guy.
He was on there. Okay.
He was a musician in a band too. I can't even remember. I can't even remember the name of it now. But yeah, Kenny tuned me up on it because I'd never heard of the guy. Like I was like, what the hell is this? But yeah, then it was 2 years old, and it was like, oh shit. We learn from our personal interactions with the world, and our memories of those experiences help guide our behaviors. Experience and memory are inexorably linked, or at least they seem to be before a recent report on the formation of completely artificial memories. Using laboratory animals, investigators reverse engineered a specific natural memory by mapping the brain circuits, by mapping, that's the wrong word, the brain circuits underlying its formation. Then they trained another animal by stimulating brain cells in the pattern of the natural memory. Doing so created an artificial memory that was retained and recalled in a manner indistinguishable from the natural one.
Isn't this, hasn't this been demonstrated with people who have brain surgery, where sometimes while they're having surgery, if they hit certain regions of the brain, they'll have certain smells or sensations?
Yes, I think so, for sure.
I mean,
well, they can make people. I don't want to be insulting when I say this, but they can put I've seen this for sure, where scientists can put
a God helmet.
Yeah, and they can make you feel like the presence of God, but they can also give you like super mathematical abilities until they turn the magnet off, and then you just go back to having your same normal cognitive abilities.
Don't you love that we don't really know what magnets are? Like science doesn't really understand.
Yeah,
and that you can just put them on your head and be smart. Or something, you know.
It was like, what is this?
Just bizarre shit.
Or you can put them on your head and you feel the presence of a creator.
Yeah.
Which really makes a strong argument for the fact that that's where that is born from anyway, if it can be recreated that way. It's really kind of spooky.
Also a strong argument in what we were talking about with Neil, with the cloud chamber and subatomic particles and the magnet, like having charge or not having charge, and mass or not having mass, and the difference between the two, between the effect of that magnet and the time dilation. So
it's wild, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting.
We don't know everything, that's for sure.
No.
And certainly not you and me.
I don't.
Memories are essential to the sense of identity that emerge from the narrative of personal experience. This study is remarkable because it demonstrates that by manipulating specific circuits in the brain, memories can be separated from that narrative and formed in the complete absence of real experience. The work shows that brain circuits that normally respond to specific experiences can be artificially stimulated and linked together in an artificial memory. That memory can be elicited by the appropriate sensory cues in the real environment.
I mean, it sounds bad for grief counselors.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, because if we can turn this shit on, then we can turn some other shit off, right? Or whatever. The work shows that brain circuits that normally respond to specific experiences can be artificial. We already said that. That memory can be elicited by, we said that too. The research provides some fundamental understanding of how memories are formed in the brain and is part of a burgeoning science of memory manipulation that includes the transfer, prosthetic enhancement, and erasure of memory. There you go.
That's really interesting.
That's crazy, man.
Starting to program the brain.
Well, okay, so you didn't do so well in school because you spent your formative years doing fun stuff.
Here's some math.
Go put this helmet on, and we'll get you mathed up here and world history'd up a little bit, and off you go.
I know kung fu.
We're probably being way more specific than this technology is actually going to be capable of in any.
Well, I mean, certainly, if it's a technology that they can repeatedly use, it will get better. I mean, if it's viable right now, I definitely believe that it will get better. So if we're extrapolating too far in the future on whatever it is that we're saying, I believe it would come to that.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
it's just only going to get better, right? What it ultimately ends up looking like is anybody's guess.
Sure. Or what the applications would be. I mean, after all, that's kind of the point, right? If you know it, you can speculate that you might be able to shut off things that hurt you really bad, like trauma that you've had in your life. Or people who have been raped or molested, or people who are depressed because somebody has died. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to get rid of some of those memories if you could. More reasons to get rid of memories than to give artificial
ones. Sure, I would think so. Ethically speaking, too, right?
Hopefully,
especially if people can't sleep, or if it's consumed their life. You can just kind of go in and go blip. It's kind of like that thing from Men in Black, right, where they flash people.
Oh yeah,
Biff, just turn those memories off.
This also opens up the possibility of storing memories, or storing the process through which that you might give somebody a particular memory. So, for instance, if you had somebody that maybe seen a concert in 1978 and they could store that memory, you would be able to give that memory to somebody else. It could be a new way of archiving ephemeral situations.
Or passing down wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that really is extrapolating far into the future.
Yeah, that's going deep in the philosophical side of what this stuff all means too. In the recent study, the natural memory was formed by training mice to associate a specific odor, cherry blossoms.
Oh, that's nice.
With a foot shock, which they learned to avoid by passing down a rectangular test chamber to another end that was infused with a different odor, caraway. Yeah, we're talking about replacing memories, and they're shocking rats' feet.
What was the other odor?
Caraway.
What does that smell like?
Apparently it smells like caraway.
Okay.
The caraway scent came from a chemical called carvone, while the cherry blossom scent came from another chemical, acetophenone. The researchers found that acetophenone activates a specific type of receptor on a discrete type of olfactory sensory nerve cell. They then turned to a sophisticated technique, optogenics, to activate those olfactory nerve cells. With optogenics, light-sensitive proteins are used to stimulate specific neurons in response to light delivered to the brain through surgically implanted optic fibers. So part of this is getting your head drilled.
Yeah, literally a mouse hooked up to an electro-optical device. That's as much experimentation as you could possibly ask for.
With optogenics, let's see, we already said that, right? In the first experiments, the researchers used transgenic animals that only made the protein in acetophenone-sensitive olfactory nerves. By pairing the electrical foot shock with optogenetic light stimulation of the acetophenone-sensitive olfactory nerves, the researchers taught the animals to associate the shock with activity of these specific sensory nerves.
Look, I feel like we are on an alien ship right now.
We must be
out to go and get humans for these experiments, and we're reading the parameters. Like, you're the captain and you're reading the parameters in the book, and you're like, no, look, we need this kind right here because they're the translucent acid ones that produce that. Yeah, the phenol, we just need those. Yeah, the phenons, right?
Say the phenon word 3 times.
Phenon,
right?
Phenon, right? Okay, I'm going to go down. I'm going to get one. Yeah. It's the phenon, right? What's the closest guy? Can we get him? I'm going to go. I'm going to get this. You know what I mean? Like it's just confusing, and I don't know what they're talking about, but I feel like
it's part.
That's how the mouse, the mice get taken. Like, this is the creature.
And
we
idiots
need.
Like us, right, are out here just eating the cheese. Like, that sounds interesting. Yeah. What's a cure?
And having no idea why you were picked.
Right.
And, but it's bigger than you, man.
by pairing the electrical foot shock with optogenic light stimulation of all of that other shit, the researchers taught the animals to associate the two. When they later tested the mice, they avoided the cherry blossom odor. Because that meant you got shocked.
That's what it is, man. It's like I must have got taken up aboard alien ships and had lights put in my head that made me really, really fear cardboard. Just like they don't know why they fear cherry blossom smell. I don't know, but it's bad. What are you joking? It's cherry blossoms. It's just
Right.
the other mouse,
Right.
you know.
He's
It's
like,
like, no, dude.
he's over there twitching.
Yeah,
and
I'm not getting into the cherry blossom.
his eyes twitching. He's drooling. Can't do it. Can't go near it, man. Can't go near it. That's crazy. So yeah, ways off here, man. But you might be right. Maybe this is the blueprint by which the aliens just make us do all the work for them. Because if they were superior, they would just...
It'd be weird shit like this, like they're trying to prove really strange things or stuff, and they just need some people that's of specific chemical makeup.
It is terrifying to think that we are just the rats in some other experiment's maze.
Yeah, especially when they talk about a hologram universe or programmed
We're,
model universe.
we're just simulations, man. That's some scary shit, bro.
In a parallel universe now.
So I am going to talk about the Amazon fires a little bit.
Okay.
And this was startling when this actually isn't the first time I've heard this. I heard an astronaut talking about this in a documentary one time. He was talking about flying over the Amazon rainforest and seeing it. You could see it. You could see the clouds and the moisture and everything coming out of it from outer space. Yeah. Right. And so there's this assumption that all the Earth's breathable oxygen comes from the Amazon rainforest, but it actually doesn't. Like hardly any of that oxygen leaves the Amazon rainforest because all the animals and stuff that are in there breathe it. So it sort of stays right there. It's a cycle, right? But so there's this bullshit going around that the fires are depleting the Earth's oxygen supply. Fires in the Amazon rainforest have captured attention worldwide in recent days. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who took office in 2019, pledged in his campaign to reduce environmental protection and increase agricultural development in the Amazon, and he appears to have followed through on that promise. The resurgence of forest clearing in the Amazon, which has decreased more than 80% following a peak in 2004, is alarming for many reasons. Tropical forests harbor many species of plants and animals found nowhere else. They are an important refuge for indigenous people and contain enormous stores of carbon as wood and other organic matter that would otherwise contribute to the climate crisis. Some media accounts have suggested that fires in the Amazon also threaten the atmospheric oxygen that we breathe. French President Emmanuel Macron tweeted August 27th that the Amazon rainforest, the lungs which produce 20% of our planet's oxygen, is on fire. The oft-repeated claim that the Amazon rainforest produces 20% of our planet's oxygen is based on a misunderstanding. In fact, nearly all of Earth's breathable oxygen originated in the oceans, and there's enough of it to last for millions of years. Mm-hmm. There are many reasons to be appalled by this year's Amazon fires, but depleting the Earth's oxygen supply is not one of them. As an atmospheric scientist, much of my work focuses on exchanges of various gases between the Earth's surface and the atmosphere. Many elements, including oxygen, constantly cycle between land-based ecosystems, the oceans, and the atmosphere in ways that can be measured and quantified. Nearly all free oxygen in the air is produced by plants through photosynthesis. About 1/3 of land photosynthesis occurs in tropical forests, the largest of which is located in the Amazonian basin. But virtually all the oxygen produced by photosynthesis each year is consumed by living organisms and fires. Trees constantly shed leaves, twigs, roots, and other litter, which feeds a rich ecosystem of organisms, mostly insects and microbes. The microbes consume oxygen in that process. Pretty cool, huh?
It's like it's an ecosystem.
It is. But it's not the lungs of the earth. It's not the... I mean, look, there's, like he's saying here, there's a lot of reasons to panic about what the fuck is going on there right now, but
just not depleting.
Yeah, we're not all going to wake up tomorrow at some tipping point for that reason. But the loss of life of all those different species. I mean, there's shit being wiped out in there that's just going to be gone forever now.
Well, yeah, stuff that they don't even know.
This one was pretty cool. This comes from Sydney Morning Herald, so we're bringing in some Australian news here, Mr. Smith.
Oh, okay.
A giant volcanic rock is floating in the ocean heading towards Australia.
Well, interesting.
Right?
They need to check that out and see what it is, man. That's suspicious.
Michael and Larissa Holt were sailing from the Vauvau Islands of Tonga to Fiji when they saw it, a total rock rubble slick extending for kilometers around them.
Rubble slick?
That's what it says. See it? You can see the picture of it.
Oh, I thought that was an island.
That's what it looks like. It's not. The rocks, some of the size of marbles and others as big as basketballs, bumped up against their boat and clogged their rudders. It's quite eerie, actually, Larissa Holt told CNN. The whole ocean was matte. The couple had sailed upon what scientists call a pumice raft, a mass of floating porous rocks that forms when a volcano erupts from the ocean floor.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a big volcano just burped on the bottom of the ocean somewhere. The hot lava, full of gas bubbles, cools in the ocean water and produces pumice, which floats to the surface above the eruption. The raft spotted by the Holts has been compared in size to Manhattan, Washington, and 20,000 football ovals.
20,000.
That thing's huge.
Yeah, it is.
So that
Can you stand on it?
Now we know why it's an article, right? The Holts had received an August 14th email warning of pumice fields, which had been spotted by other sailors and detected from space by NASA satellites. By the evening of August 15th, they were surrounded by the rocks and their sulfur smell, they said in a post on Facebook page that tracks their sailing and surfing adventures. Quote, the rocks were kind of closing in around us, so we couldn't see our trail or our wake at all, Michael Holt told CNN. We could just see the edge where it went back to regular water, shiny water at night. They posted photos of their discovery to Facebook and in the week since have received homework assignments from scientists and university professors looking for photos and specimens from the pumice the Holts collected.
That's cool.
That's kind of neat, right? This would have happened into this weird, what the hell do we do now? Get samples.
Yeah.
You got any Ziploc bags? Among them was Scott Bryan, a geologist and associate professor at Queensland University of Technology, who has been studying underwater volcanic pumice for 2 decades, he told the ABC. The ABC.
The American Broadcasting Company.
This mass, he told ABC, is slowly floating toward Australia's coastline, where in 7 to 12 months it could arrive with a host of marine life ready to potentially revive the badly damaged Great Barrier Reef. Yeah, right, because it's all bleaching and dying and shit. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So
you got to play the video even if you cut it out.
Okay. This says sailing through blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not a video. Those are just pictures. But you know what it looks like? It looks like their boat is in like a weird mud.
Yeah.
Or something.
Or some kind of wet sand.
Yeah. Like that looks like you could almost walk on it.
Yeah.
This is nuts. And you're right. It's for as far as you can see.
Wow.
This is crazy.
Parallel universe, man.
Right? We've been bumped over. Quote, in this 150 odd square kilometers of pumice out there right now, there's probably billions to trillions of pieces of pumice all floating together, and each piece of pumice is a vehicle for some marine organism. Brian told the ABC, organisms such as algae, barnacles, snails, crabs, and possibly even corals could attach themselves to the pumice raft, serving as a natural mechanism for species to colonize, restock, and grow in a new environment. Cool. Well, it turns out it isn't it isn't a terrible thing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, man.
I didn't even know volcanoes did that. And you can see it from satellites, man. That's crazy. A lot of crazy shit tonight.
Yeah, I like it though.
Do we want to go down and deep in the woods on this?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. This is from Gizmodo. Mystery deepens around newly detected ripples in space-time. Oh. This one got you... Now, see, this has got you perked up, doesn't it?
Well, interested to see what they got to say.
The true identity of last week's purported neutron star black hole merger may never be known, as follow-up searches for a source of the signal have turned up nothing. Searches. That's right. Scientists affiliated with the LIGO detector announced last week that they'd spotted in the form of gravitational waves what appeared to be a black hole gobbling up a neutron star, but without an electromagnetic counterpart to the detection, it's difficult to distinguish such an event from a pair of black holes merging. Either possibility is exciting.
So they're not finding like the gamma rays and stuff from that.
Yeah, he says, quote, we are not aware of any black holes in the universe with masses less than about 5 solar masses. Susan Scott, professor at the Australian National University, told Gizmodo in an email, quote, since we currently estimate the smaller mass to be less than 3 solar masses, if it is a black hole, then it would be significantly lighter than any other black hole that we know about, which would be a huge discovery, right? Because it now moves. That's big. These geeks freak out about that shit, right? Because it moves the benchmark.
Yeah.
On August 14th, scientists operating the 2 laser interferometer gravitational wave observatories, 2 machines, as well as the Virgo gravitational wave interferometer, all reported spotting gravitational waves. The detectors determined that this event, now named S190814BV,
obviously,
right? Why wouldn't it be? Was highly unlikely to be a false alarm. The astrophysicists calculated that the gravitational waves that they detected would have been created by 2 masses, one larger than 5 times the mass of the sun and one smaller than 3 times the mass of the sun, colliding nearly 900 million light years away.
Well, to be fair, Gareth has said on one of his videos that they kind of eyeballed a lot of the detections that LIGO made, and that they had not separated the noise from the noise background and defined what it was and stuff. I mean, I don't know much about LIGO, to be honest, and not knowing much about that, I guess it's important to point out that there's a lot of people who doubt that they're detecting anything,
or that they're detecting what they think they're detecting.
Right. So I guess there's some doubt to this, and I've that's what I've heard most of the time too. I know it took them a long time to calibrate it and stuff, because they could pick up a truck moving 8 cities away and shit.
That's crazy, right? I mean, that's super sensitive equipment, though.
Yeah.
That's insane. Let's see. We want to go any further on this? One of those missions is already reporting its results on the ArcSiv physics paper server. An instrument on a 6.5 meter telescope at Las Campanas Observatory in Chile failed to find any evidence of accompanying electromagnetic radiation. This complicates things for those hoping that LIGO had spotted a black hole eating a neutron star. So it could just be anomalous.
Yeah.
Just it's something that just sort of happened, but there's nothing correlating it right now.
As far as they can see, because that should leave a big burst of gamma rays when that happens. And they
unless we don't understand physics the way we think we understand physics.
They should be able to detect that with a radio telescope, which I think they were saying at the end there that they was using a radio telescope.
And they didn't find it. No. Yeah, they didn't see it. All right, ready for some controversy?
Oh, yeah, always ready for controversy.
This comes from the Independent UK. Pluto is a planet, NASA chief says. It's back.
Well,
I'm sticking by that. It's the way I learned it, and I'm committed to it, says Jim Bridenstine. It's Bridenstine. Pluto's status as a planet has once again been called into question after the head of NASA said he believed the celestial body to be a planet. Speaking at the first robotics event in Oklahoma, NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine went against convention by placing himself firmly on one side of the Pluto debate. Just so you know, in my view, Pluto is a planet, he said. You can write that. The NASA administrator declared Pluto a planet once again. I'm sticking by that. It's the way I learned it, and I'm committed to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you. Pluto was first declared a planet in 1930 after it was discovered by American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh. At the time, it was believed to be the 9th planet from the sun, existing on the outer edge of the solar system in the Kuiper Belt.
Yes.
We like Kuiper belts.
Therein lies the issue, the crux of the issue.
Yeah, is it just a big asteroid?
Well, yeah, it's a Kuiper object.
Right, so far away. Its status as a planet was called into question 62 years later after other similarly sized objects were discovered in the same region of space.
Yeah, and because of its elliptical orbit too,
yep.
And the inclination of the orbit.
In 2005, astronomers discovered a dwarf planet called Eris that was 27% larger than Pluto. A year later, the International Astronomical Union laid out its official definition for what constituted a planet, and Pluto was not included. Since then, it has been classified as a dwarf planet.
And we're just giving there.
Yeah.
It's not, but it's a dwarf planet, sure.
Right. Though the icy object has attracted a dedicated following of people who claim Pluto should be considered a planet.
It's like they're trying to appease them or something by calling it a dwarf planet.
I guess anything to be controversial, right? In 2015, NASA's New Horizons mission to Pluto made several major discoveries that added fuel to the debate. Alan Stern, the NASA scientist who led the New Horizons mission, subsequently co-authored a paper calling for Pluto to be reclassified. And there's a video of him doing so.
Uh-huh.
The Society for the Preservation of Pluto.
Where do you work at? I'm a receptionist. Where? At this office. Well, what do you do? Well, it's for the
Society for the Preservation of Pluto as a planet. So it's the SPPP. The SPPP has campaigned for Pluto's status to be upgraded. Quote, for over 75 years, school children all over the world have learned that our solar system has 9 planets, the group's website states.
Yeah, you can't take it away like the metric system. You can't. You just can't.
Oh, Eric. Pluto's status as a planet has sparked the human imagination for decades. Now is not the time to downgrade Pluto's status. No. It's just because you've taught something wrong the whole time doesn't mean you should continue teaching something wrong.
2019 is not the time for.
Oh, dude, right?
Well, at least it's a thing. Wait.
Oh, we're going to keep talking about Pluto?
We're going to keep talking about Pluto.
Okay, hit me, baby.
Where do you fall, man? What is it?
I fall by whatever the standard definition from astronomers say it is, and it says it's not a planet, and they're right because of the logical reasons why it's not a planet.
But those were reasons that they made.
I'm just saying, dude, you asked me where I came down,
yes, you're right.
And I agree with the logic of what they've done.
I do too. I don't believe planet is a Pluto. Full disclosure, I totally
You don't believe
agree.
planet is a Pluto?
I don't believe planet is a Pluto.
You believe Pluto is a planet?
Neither that.
Just checking.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's absolutely irrelevant which way you go with this.
Right.
Because,
it's pointless.
Yeah, it's not a planet. Or a Pluto.
Or a Pluto.
I mean, you should strip it of its name at this point, right? It's a Kepler object. Just call it that, a Kuiper object.
Well, the other Kuiper
I know. See,
Kuiper object has a name, Eris.
Yeah,
and it's bigger.
Just joking about getting rid of the name.
Oh, you just want to piss people off. Direct all that hate mail at hashtag Eric sucks.
Well, they're going to run out of Greek mythological names eventually.
Well, there are a limited number. I guess I could just start making some up. Wouldn't be hard to do, would it?
There's a lot of Kuiper objects.
A lot of Kuiper objects, yeah.
They'll be like Bob.
B-O-B-B Bob?
Too, probably.
I got to get a graphene article in, bro.
Hey, cool.
Super materials. Again from Gizmodo. Adding graphene to fabrics turns it into a perfect force field against mosquitoes.
Oh, and you know what? We found out in the last episode.
That's right.
That those are some deadly guys.
They fuck people up, man.
50% of everyone who died in history.
It was killed by mosquito-borne illnesses, right?
I may never forget that.
That's crazy. Again, with the crazy. See the shit you learn when you come listen to us?
Yeah, man. And now you need some graphene woven into your clothes.
It says, saying goodbye to the warm summer months is a little easier when it also means the war against mosquito bites is coming to an end. Woo! They're not just an itchy annoyance. However, mosquitoes can spread dangerous disease and viruses, but researchers at Brown University might have come up with the perfect mosquito force field, garments lined with graphene. I'm intrigued. If you've been avoiding any and all science news for the past decade and are unfamiliar with graphene, it is a seemingly miraculous material.
You haven't if you've been listening to this show.
I've just been geeking out about it, man.
I mean, all kinds of science usually on here.
It's a seemingly miraculous material made from a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a two-dimensional hexagonal lattice. It's lightweight, but 100 times stronger than steel.
Yeah.
And has been used in everything from wearable blood sugar monitoring patches, bike tires with adjustable grip, and even mind-melting optical illusions. Wow. But in a paper published yesterday in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, hand salute, researchers at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, detail how the graphene oxide-lined fabrics they had been developing to serve as a barrier against toxic chemicals also protected wearers from mosquito attacks in 2 different ways.
Okay.
For starters, it was found that mosquitoes couldn't generate enough force for their probosces. I guess they're probes. The thing they shoot into you.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the appendage that they use to puncture the skin and withdraw blood to actually penetrate the thin layer of graphene oxide. It acts as a sort of impenetrable force field to their attacks, but it actually works in both directions. Mosquitoes are able to pick up on chemical signals coming off your skin, alerting them to a nearby meal. But when test subjects wore a thin layer of cheesecloth protected with the extra layer of graphene oxide, not only did mosquitoes not bite, they didn't even land on the patches of exposed skin. So in theory, not only would you not have to worry about bites while wearing a graphene oxide suit, you wouldn't even have to worry about mosquitoes annoyingly buzzing past your head.
Man.
Graphene changing fucking everything, Mr. Smith.
God. You mean I don't have to spray a can of questionable chemicals in aerosol form on me?
Well, no more chemical shit, Storm.
Hey.
I mean, it's in development, right? But I guess you would have to have it like over your whole body.
You could have like a tent like that.
You could.
Like, you know how they used to have the gossamer and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You could have like a kind of a gossamer carbon filament tent.
They would just attack animals from then on, right? Leave people alone. Eat my dog, would you? Leave me the fuck alone. Let me see. We're at an hour. I'm going to go to my last one here, man. That's the little one's too deep. This is why I said when we were talking about at the beginning of the show, I had an article on that.
Uh-huh.
Optimism may hold secret to longer life, study suggests.
Optimism in what?
TheGuardian.com.
I'm skeptical.
You're skeptical of optimism?
Yeah.
Man, I knew you would be. Seeing the glass as half full may mean a longer life, according to research suggesting that optimists not only live longer in general, but have a better chance of reaching 85 or older. I think I understand why, but should we read the article or should we take guesses?
Guesses.
I think it is because that when you're optimistic, you tend not to get upset about, you tend to be optimistic about the outcome of things that other people really worry about, right? That's the, superior optimists don't have, I mean, they have almost like a give a shit attitude because nothing really upsets them. They know it's going to be okay.
Terminology, superior optimists.
Yeah.
Today on our show, we have
a
the superior optimist, Mark Hamill.
Or whatever, right? Yeah. Huh? So I think that because they don't think things are going to go bad, they don't worry about them.
No,
because they don't worry.
They don't hold that tension in them.
No stress.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is high-strung people that worry about everything hold that stress, and it amplifies your blood pressure, it amplifies your heart rate, and you just wear everything out faster.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
That's my guess as well.
It's not the first time optimism has been linked to health benefits. People of an upbeat disposition have previously been found to have a lower risk of heart conditions and premature death. Researchers now say it could also play a role in living a long life. Well, not dying of heart issues would do that.
Yeah.
I would think. Quote, a lot of evidence suggests that exceptional longevity is usually accompanied by a longer span of good health and living without disability. So our findings raise an exciting possibility that we may be able to promote healthy and resilient aging by cultivating psychosocial assets such as optimism, said Lewena Lee, the lead author of the study at Boston University School of Medicine. While such a possibility has yet to be tested, Lee noted that other studies have shown optimism levels can be raised. Writing in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, Lee and colleagues report that they analyzed data from two previous long-term research projects, one involving female nurses and another focused on a cohort of men. Why do they got to be a cohort? I'm just saying. The former were assessed for optimism in 2004, with participants having an average of age of 70, and followed until 2014. For men, optimism was assessed in 1986, with participants having an average age of 62 and deaths tracked until 2016. The team split about 70,000 women into 4 equally sized groups based on their scores for optimism. They then compared lifespan for the most optimistic with the least, taking into account factors including age, sex, race, education, depression, and other health conditions present at the outset.
What is your optimism score?
I would like to know. I think it's probably pretty high.
I'd say.
Mm-hmm. I like reading about apocalyptic things, but I'm not apocalyptic.
I
just think
consider
they're
that
fun.
an optimistic outcome myself.
Right? The results show that the most optimistic group of women had a lifespan almost 15% longer than the least. Similar results were seen in men, even though optimism was measured slightly differently. When the team compared the fifth of men boasting the highest optimism scores with the least optimistic, they found the most positive men had lifespans almost 11% longer. That doesn't, I mean...
I don't know. Or like 10% if you live to be 100 would be 10 years. That'd be a decade. And if most people live to be about what? How many does men normally?
I think we're getting up there now, right? Like over 70 for average lifespan.
Like 75 or 76. So that would be most people living into their mid 80s, with a lot more people living and being 100.
Yeah, into their 90s and 100s.
It's going to be a social nightmare.
But this is funny that there's a study to say that the more optimistic you are, the less stressed out you are, the longer you'll live. But I guess you need the corollary evidence. But it's sort of, wouldn't you just call that common sense?
Well, yeah, and if it doesn't make you live longer, you'll certainly feel better while you're living.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't trip on anybody else's bullshit, man. This is my thing.
I think that optimism can be different from depression, though. You know?
Yeah, I don't know that they're related.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they were exclusive.
No. I think that they're. I think you can be very optimistic and still be depressed.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Or pessimistic and happy.
Yes, and pessimistic and happy. Yeah, they seem like they would be counterintuitive, but that's not necessarily the case. Huh?
No. I mean, because a lot of pessimists would say that an optimist could never truly be surprised by something.
Right.
Because they're always expecting shit
the
to go their
greatest
way.
thing in the world. Oh, puppy! Yay!
Yeah. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, man. I knew I'd get a puppy someday. It's like, it's not like the person that's like, yeah, man, I'm never going to get a puppy. Oh my God, I got a puppy.
Yeah, of course. Of course, I won the lottery. Why wouldn't I win the lottery?
I knew someday if I just kept playing, I'd get right into heaven.
Attacks on people who are bad at math.
I'm bad at math.
Do you buy scratch tickets and lottery tickets?
No, I don't.
Then you're not paying the tax.
Yeah, I've never actually gambled.
Ever in your life?
Ever. I know what my luck is. I don't need to gamble.
You don't like
explain
trusting luck at all, do you? No,
I don't have the kind that you want to trust.
I don't think it's very optimistic of you, Eric.
Well, maybe so.
Well, on that note, hey, thanks for listening, everyone. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
That's what you do.
That's right. Give us a rating on iTunes, etc. If you'd like what we do, please give us a share. That's our favorite form of graciousness from you, the adoring fans out there. But it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, like, could you just talk to your neighbor and explain how they really just need to listen to...
Yeah, right? I mean,
you got to have people around you, whoever you are.
Go into your friends list, share this episode, and send it to everybody in your friends list.
Make a huge example of yourself and just share it with people that you only have ever met on Facebook.
If we can come on here and be complete jackasses, so can you. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
We're not asking for much. At all.
Just spread it everywhere.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch y'all next time. Bye.